What?
You guys are so close over there. Okay. Bill's looking down in the corner of his eye like, is he going to touch my leg? What's he going to do? All right. So welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of our Harley Davidson Bill Stork podcast. We
it was going so good that we had to do
we ran the battery down. We were as soon as we said
so
COVID,
good.
Everything just went haywire.
Right. Yeah.
And that's because the government was listening.
Yeah,
right.
I think so.
Shut us down.
And I think that we're probably all on the same page that, you know, we've all had our I should say partake in the whole COVID situation. But if anybody's like me, to be honest with you, I'm actually kind of sick and tired of talking about COVID, because I think that it's something that we can hopefully move on from. But unfortunately, when even like Rob, you can probably vouch, when we call, how many businesses still blame everything and their actions still on COVID. But I just kind of figured that next chapter.
Well, it's right? Like that excuse still lingers. It's probably not even the reason why of the particular problem, but they still just, they got used to using it so much that they just still rely on it. So it's almost like a get out of jail free card for some, you know, manufacturers and wholesalers and stuff like that. So it really just, it's such a dynamic thing, right, that
seems like it's an easy blame game, you know, just right away. Oh, it was COVID.
Yeah.
Wow. I doubt it, but so yeah, I agree that moving forward, that I'm sure, you know, you did have ups and downs, and like you were saying, it's mostly the part end of it, not and probably the new merchandise end of it. But as far as like your business wise and employees and everything else, I mean, you guys never really got affected that much.
No, it didn't affect us very much, except for supplies stuff.
Yeah.
Just like with you guys are having that same kind of issue, you know. And it's everything from the clothing department, or used to be called motor clothes, now they call it A&L, apparel and licensing. But that our shipments, that stuff got pushed way back. Our stuff comes out seasonally. There's a summer, winter, fall. That stuff, the summer stuff came in about fall this year.
Oh, yeah.
So everything was pushed back a long ways. Parts are tough. Like people have had some crashes. To get those parts to fix those crashed bikes, some of them missed an entire season of riding because it took so long to get the parts. The new bike shipments are also affected by it quite a bit too. But there's kind of a perfect storm where, you know, between that, they changed shipping companies right at the same time that all this impact of raw material shortages was hitting manufacturing. They decided to also make a change in a shipping company. That did not go well. It was supposed to be so much more improved, and it was the opposite of that. So, yeah, it created kind of a mess, but it didn't cause in our industry the problems that it did in restaurants and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you got a pretty good group over there for employees and stuff, and I feel like that kind of goes a long ways too, to even get through some dilemmas like this.
Yeah.
You know, thanks for saying that, because we have, our managers have all been over there 20 years. In our store over 20 years. So they're very knowledgeable about what they do in every single department, and that makes your life as an owner or a GM so much easier. That's a dream scenario for anyone to have. And I worked in like I said before, I was in the automotive industry before, and I had the opposite of that. And that was made my life extremely stressful at that point. So I so much appreciate the position that I'm in now with these wonderful people that I work with.
And it's nice because, I mean, I've known you for quite a few years. I've been in your store multiple times. I know sometimes I kind of overstay my welcome, but it seems like I start out front and I just BS with everybody throughout the whole department, you know, from the service to the sales to the parts guys and everything, and those same guys have been there for, you know, as long as that I can remember, and that goes to say a lot, you know, walking into an establishment like that, that you see the same faces, you don't have to worry about that turnaround. You know, that's got to be, like you said, for you on your side, that's got to be pretty neat.
Well, I don't know if you guys are old enough, but if you remember the show Cheers,
Yeah.
everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it is when you come in our store. Let's be real. Motorcycling is a pretty small industry. And, you know, we don't have hundreds of thousands of customers. It's a smaller group. But when you come in our front door, we probably know the first name of 75% of the people who walk in the front door. And because of our staff's been there that long, they know them too like that. So people are comfortable coming in there because it's kind of fun.
Right.
You know, and then we have events where we kind of, it's more of a party atmosphere at some of our events. And it ends up being a kind of a destination because of that.
Yeah, and it is nice because even when I do go in there, rather if I'm shopping for clothing or apparel or what have you, it's just from the, you know, the girls up front, you know, they know who I am, they say hi to me, you know, it's funny because they know what, well, I think you bought that shirt, I think you have it in this size, and it's like, wow, how do you know, and that's pretty impressive because you do have a lot of people in and out of that door. For them to focus and remember and on stuff like that it's pretty neat. And even again, you know, I've said this multiple times that I look at a lot of stuff on two sides of the desk because being the owner, you see stuff at one point, and being a customer or civilian on the other side, you see it at a different angle. So for me as a business owner, walking into an establishment like yours and see like people remember and they know what you bought and all that stuff, it's like, as a business owner, you really appreciate that kind of stuff because they're doing their job. They, you know, they focus and they're there because they love it, you know. And like I said, as us on this side of the desk as being business owners, that really makes us feel good to have employees like that.
Yeah.
And so when you do have good ones, and even Rob can vouch too.
Oh yeah,
when you have good people working under you and for you, it means a lot.
It's nice. It's very rarely do you have that feeling of like, I actually want to go to that Harley Davidson store. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to walk into a dealership, I'm going to get sales pushed on me. No, it's like I actually like, I want to go to a Harley shop because it's actually enjoyable. And I haven't bought 50 grand worth of bikes there. I bought a few parts there, but yet they still know me by my name and they still treat me just like that guy who may have bought $50,000, $100,000 worth of bikes from me. So it's like, it's hats off to that store. It's
and it's not me. It's just the people that work there. That's they have the same kind of passion that I do as an owner. They have that passion as employees.
It's getting more and more rare these days to see people actually care about their job and care about what they're doing, and so it's nice. It's nice having that because you know you're going to get, you know, the service that you need.
So speaking, walking in your shop, I got to ask, what's the new, any secrets on anything cool coming out? Has there been talk about possibly, you know, especially right now, I think it's on everybody's mind for the most part when it comes to, you know, today's industry is electric. Seems like that's the big thing that everybody is, you know, that you hear about, talk about. You guys getting a line of electric bikes? Are you not allowed to say? Or
no, I can tell you anything that's public knowledge. I mean, I couldn't speak to things that would be coming out in the future,
right.
But I'll tell you that I don't know.
Okay.
You know, after, what was it, almost 30 years in the car industry, everybody knew everything before it came out because you would see Motor Trend magazine and there's a car with like they got covered in leather, wrapped in leather, so it's kind of trying to be secret, but they're out testing them, and people see through all that, and you can find out what's coming out, and they'll even leak the information intentionally early. Not with Harley Davidson. We know nothing.
Really?
I don't know how they keep such amazing secrets until, like, we used to go to the dealer shows now because of COVID. They don't have dealer shows anymore. It's all done virtually, like everything else. But we used to go to the dealer show, and there'd be 10,000 people in there because it's a worldwide show. So dealers would bring 2 to 5 people from every store from all over the world, and they would come in and they would roll some new product out on the stage, come riding it out, and you're just mind blown as a dealer to see that stuff, and it's so exciting. But they keep good enough secrets. We have no knowledge of what's coming out. We just found out a little bit about the colors for the 23 stuff. And again, this is going to be another anniversary year for Harley Davidson. Every 5 years they release an anniversary special edition bikes. And we're going to be in one of those years, but we have no idea what it's going to be. We don't know if they're going to do any CVOs or if they are, which ones. But rest assured, there'll be something. They always do something to get people excited about buying something new. Now, I'll answer your question on the EV stuff.
Yep.
My position, this is just me, is that in North Dakota they make less than 0 cents. There's a lot of dealers that jumped on board with wanting to be on that bandwagon and be EV dealers right away. And I pumped the brakes on that. It's been proven to me over time, and not even just in the industries I'm in, but in other industries. If we're talking cell phones or microwaves or whatever, if you bought the first one, you paid way too much for it, and it wasn't as good as one that came out the year later that was way cheaper. That EV world, to ever be something functional where our cities are so far apart, needs to have a lot of evolution where there's more range, and it needs to be into a bike that's a little more comfortable to ride. In this part of the world, cruisers dominate the landscape. I'm sorry, touring bikes dominate the landscape, and that EV bike that they have is which is called Livewire, is an amazing piece of technology. It's extremely fast, but for an old guy like me to get on that thing to fold up like a jackknife, I can't do it.
Right.
It's a little bit painful, and that's part of because I have artificial knees. But it's like I don't see it here in a while.
Right, and to even elaborate on that, a lot of people that buy the cruisers, I would say the majority of them are buying them for the purpose of the cruiser bike. Where they want to go cruise with it. They want they want to be comfortable. They want to sit on it and be comfortable in every aspect, because they're, sooner or later, if they don't right away when they buy the bike, but eventually they're going to take a trip with it or get with some buddies and do a big mile run or something. And I think that if you look at the statistics and the amount of people that come into your store to purchase or, even research buying a bike, I think if you would ask them, I'm thinking that the number is going to be super high, that half the reason why they're buying a Harley is for the rumble. I think a lot of people, they want that Harley sound, they want the exhaust, the pipe and all that, and I think not very many people are in and again, this is only my opinion, that I'm going to go buy the most quietest bike out there just so that nobody can see or hear me. I don't really think, especially around here, that's really the case.
I think
like
that was probably, a no-brainer for you to push or to pump the brakes on not bringing in electric market, because your marketplace, your customers, that, people that are buying the bikes from your store, they're at least riding it from town to town, they're riding it to Sturgis, they're putting on somewhat range of miles. So, and it's like, honestly, I feel like, a lot of us in North Dakota, we're all kind of rednecks at heart. We like having loud stuff. We like having fast stuff. And so it's like, you got to know what products you put in your store that people are going to buy. So I'm sure that was pretty easy.
And it kind of came down to math, too. I mean, I would never sell enough of those in my lifetime for the thing to pay for my initial investment in infrastructure to have.
Right.
So it just didn't make sense. And I'm one of them people that I have to be smart enough with our money to make smart decisions based on the bottom line.
Oh, yeah.
So being Harley's a franchise, correct?
Yes.
Can they step in 3 years and be like, you have to, or do they kind of let you, for the most part? And again, if you can't answer, that's fine. Just, because some dealerships are like, well, here's your options. You are going to do it, but you can do it in different tiers, but one or the other, you're going to do it. Does Harley approach you like that, or do they kind of let you do what's best for your commutative sales in your region and stuff like that? I mean, can they come in 5 years and say, we don't care if you like it or not. If you want to stay with Harley, you have to do it.
In a way.
Okay.
You probably don't see them doing that, do you?
Well, not with that, because they realize that
it's not for everybody.
In some areas that thing doesn't make sense.
Right.
In its current
they know the
state.
market just like you.
But if you lived in Minneapolis and you're just commuting back and forth to work every day, hey man, that thing's amazing.
Yeah,
you're never paying for fuel.
Yep.
But so what they did is they separated the franchises, so that Livewire's not really a part of my franchise. It's a separate franchise now. It didn't start off that way, but they did separate it. And so because of that, in its current state, that's not going to happen where they come in and say, hey, you got to do this. But there are other things that happens with, trust me.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah. Well, yeah, I suppose even with other aspects of the company, I'm sure they do, but this is like a huge... I mean, this isn't just bringing on like another version of a bagger or a street bike. That it's a whole different ball game. This is, I mean, it's like reinventing the wheel again with this electric bike. So I'm sure they have to, on one hand, tread lightly, I guess, if that makes sense. Just because, like you said, by forcing on some dealers, you could really possibly put them out of business, because it's going to be an expensive investment. So a lot of people can't just dump the money and hoping that it'll pay off. Could really harm a lot of people too.
So much I would love to go into about that subject that we can't talk about on this podcast. But yes, there's dealers that financially are not as stable as others, and I think the general public thinks a lot of times that all businesses are printing money, right? And we know, right? We know, because you've owned a couple of businesses.
Yeah, you own a business, you have all kinds of money.
There's a massive amount of overhead that people have no idea exists, and then when you have talented people that work for you, you have to pay them. So that whole EV thing is just another dimension. It was unbelievable what it was going to cost us to put in. We were going to need to have a charging station outside the building, and then we were going to have a charging station inside the building, plus a whole bunch of special tools. And like I said, it came down to simple math, because think of how many people. You'd sell a couple of them things probably a year, but that would probably be a couple of years.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going to financially ever make sense to me.
Because it'd be hard to, if you're just looking for something to commute back and forth, and again, this is just my opinion on it. If you're looking for something, like you're saying, like down in Minneapolis or California or whatever, that's like, hey, I'm buying this electric bike. It's a small like a Dyna or something like that to commute back and forth to work. You think that person's going to trade that bike in every 3 years? Like most people that buy it, they want to trade in because it's either a bigger motor or different color, or they have some different options on a bike, or they just put miles on it and they're ready for a new bike. Well, look at, you start pushing the EV, I think the amount of like trade-ins and sales are not going to be as often, because realistically you're not going to have, I feel like, the options, and you're not going to have the wear. People aren't going to trade them in 3 years because it's wore out. I got too many miles on it. Well, that doesn't exist. That's not the case.
They're almost less serviceable too than a standard Harley. You can't go at it with the aftermarket like you can, a gasoline powered Harley. So it's just like the potential, I guess, the potential for investment on top of the investment of that bike it's not there. And these manufacturers are very keen. They'll create reasons for you to want to buy a new one and trade it in. That'll happen. They'll have accessorization.
you know, that's one thing Harley's probably one of the best manufacturers in the world with, is when they release a new model, they've already got the accessories designed and built for it. And the aftermarkets are slow to pick up on what needs to be designed or what to come out with. So they're an amazing company that way. There's a reason that they are where they are in the motorcycle industry.
I think it's crazy how you see less stock bikes. Like, very rarely do you see a completely stock bike.
Yeah.
Very rarely.
Yes, I know every time we get one in trade, I'm like, oh wow, look at this. Here's a limited or an ultra. It's got stock exhaust and stock everything on it. I mean, it happens, but it's definitely a little more unusual.
It's part of the ownership experience. It's like you want your bike to either perform, stand out, look better. It's part of owning a Harley, I guess.
Yeah.
So you, being, you know, the owner operator of Rough Rider, what does it? Yes, I'm trying to figure out how to ask it. So when you see a bike that comes in and it's 100% bone stock, is that worth more or less than somebody that's going to take and put accessories on it? And the reason why I ask that, because I've experienced a lot. So I've taken a couple trips from here down to Arizona. I've ridden my bike, and again, it's just kind of like what Rob says, is I make it a point, and if even if it's me and the woman, if we're out cruising around and we're in a town or a state that we've never been before, it's like, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a Harley store. And just, I don't even care if it's a tiny, because I've been into some tiny ones that are just a little bit of apparel and that's it. I appreciate it no matter
they're still
what.
cool.
So we making these trips back and forth, it's kind of like one of our stopping points. It's like, well, what Harley shops are on the way? We're gonna stop in and check out these Harley places. And we found out that there's a few that if you have anything but a stock bike, they will not even associate with you. They won't even give you the time of day. They won't even look at your bike. And then you get to the next one where, like, it's almost 100% opposite. If your bike gets stock, they're like, well, you don't put food on my table because you don't do nothing with it. We like these guys that put money in, they change their heart, and they're, you know, and I know they don't treat customers like, but I'm just saying, like, they welcome us with open arms. That, you know, you have a modded out Harley, yeah, we'll work on it. What do you need? What, like, that don't bother us at all. And it's kind of interesting learning that, traveling in other states, and that you see that variance. You know, it's, what is it up here? Do you like? Does it matter to you guys?
Yes,
seeing the
and that, again, that's a great question. And again, you're going to find this different from dealership to dealership. So I'm going to tell you our position on it. You could go spend 10 grand on your bike, and it could be all in stuff that's stylish and looks. But if that doesn't appeal to the next guy, it's not worth anything.
Right.
So probably the only thing that's almost bulletproof on that is performance. Now, you can go way over the top. We were talking earlier yesterday about how my dad used to do real aggressive cams and these bikes. You can do too much. You can have durability issues, rideability issues. So you can do too much, and it's then the next person, it's going to be more piecemeal, meaning 10 people are going to love that, 10 people are going to hate it.
Yep.
So yes, there's more value for us when we see performance stuff if it's
done right.
Appearance stuff done right. Custom wheels, without going to the big crazy 23s on the front and bigger. That gets to be too much.
Everybody loves a good 21 on a bike.
Yes, and custom wheels, period. Now, we all don't have the same tastes in wheels, you know, and so a lot of it's going to be personally what we know our market. We know what seems to work real good. You know, even with all the different colors that are out there, some of the denim colors that they've had in the past, you know, like the red denim or the blue denims, I look at them, I'm like, oh my God, you know, it's not my favorite. But yet there's other people that will absolutely do backflips to get one. So there you go.
And I suppose too, it's like that. If you get a bike in there, that guy, you know, that had put a turbo on it, it's not for everybody to, you know. So I get it. Something like that would be a hard sell, you know, to try to flip. I do know that you know, with my.
Keep that thought though.
What's this?
Yeah.
Keep that thought. Oh shoot, are you leaning? Yeah, you're leaning on them. Maybe like don't touch the wires, guys.
Holy crap.
Jesus.
Jeepers.
We can't even touch the wire?
Yeah. And then your beard, every once in a while.
What's it doing? It's not long enough to hurt it.
It's great thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then you
You're just perfect.
Yeah.
you need to I don't know, the mic needs to go in front of you. and
Why are we
talking.
having this conversation now?
It's just because every once in a while it'll do it, so I just figured I'd fix all three of you at the same time. Instead of,
Don't touch the wires. You're touching the wires.
yeah, you quit folding your arms in front of you.
Yeah, everybody.
Hands up. Don't shoot.
Okay, so
I can't
30,
believe that.
25, so I'm just gonna that way I don't have to stop you.
I can't believe it. It's that.
Yeah, we're on the performance stuff.
It's that technical. You can't even touch the wires. So with having with my Street Glide, it's it's big wheeled. You guys did some motor work to it. You put that tire shredder kit in it. It's got stretch bags and stuff. And again, it's as we were leaving North Dakota, like I said, there was a couple Harley places that we actually wanted to stop into and probably get some things looked at just to make sure our bikes were kosher heading down. And like I said, there was a couple that just, they actually almost downgraded you that your bike was other than stock, and it was kind of weird that you would have to encounter that. But then you get down to Arizona and you get down to like Scottsdale, Harley Davidson down there, which is big. It's a pretty good size. There's one in Chandler too, which is a good size Harley, and they're both like, "Oh, absolutely, we'd love to work on your bike." And I asked that guy, I'm like, "Why is it that you guys have no problem?"
What was his answer to that?
And he said, "Well, we have to. We got some of our top national builders, Yaffe, Dirty Bird." They're right on our back door. Like they're right over here, and they build. I mean, they mass produce parts and stuff that you got to think of our numbers and how many people in Scottsdale probably don't have a stock Harley that they do put money into them. And for us to keep food on our table, we have to learn how to work with these bikes to keep our guys busy. So we don't frown away from that. And I'm sure I don't know if you've probably been to that Harley Davidson down there.
I haven't.
So,
you know how you said like a lot of people, you go someplace you want to go. Because I'm in a business, I don't want to go to a Harley dealership.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm in one every day.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's something different. But for us, it's, I look forward to it. And and that Harley is 3 stories, and I mean it's big, and they welcome that stuff. They love it. But that's because that's where they're located. They're in the heart of it. It's a big thing down there, so you almost have to.
I think it's a store culture. Mm-hmm. I think it's also there's politics involved in some of these other states that really pump the brakes on keeping that exhaust stock, and so there's possibility they've been burned a few times.
Right.
Harley has really stepped up with what they'll warranty and what they won't. Like if you buy a new bike and you're not using the Harley tuner and staying in certain parameters, they're going to have a problem with doing any warranty work on your bike. And they know, because the minute you plug that ECM in, they know what is done. They know what's in that thing for a tuner and all that stuff. So we have to toe the line that way. But it doesn't mean you can't mod your bike out. You just have to keep it within certain parameters. We do have customers that just want to go 9/10, and 9/10 is too much for Harley to warranty that motor. We'll tell them.
Yeah.
If you go to that level, we'll do it for you, but you're not going to have any warranty on that motor from the manufacturer. So they make their choice.
Yeah, and when you're spending that kind of money on a bike, you got to kind of cover all aspects of it, because it's not cheap.
And kind of my eyes, I feel like if you got 20 grand to cover, or 20 grand to throw at a motor, you probably have another 20 grand to replace that motor if it goes down. That's kind of the way I see it. You shouldn't just spend your last dollar in your savings. I mean, some people do it though. On your motor, and then it'll probably be another 2 years before you have enough money to fix that thing if you do blow it up. But so going back to the culture, I know we were talking about Harley stores from a bike standpoint. I got a good story about how a Harley store treated me from a rider standpoint. So the first year I had my my first bike, my Street Glide, we did about a 5,000 mile run in Montana, and so we're on our way back. We spent about 4 days of partying pretty good up at Flathead Lake. So we were weary, and our goal was to make it down to Gardner, and that's where we're gonna stick. So we're gonna ride Beartooth the next day, and so like I was shaky on my bike going all the way down from Flathead to Missoula. I just didn't feel comfortable on my bike. You know, I was probably in not a good shape to be riding just from, you know,
Having too much fun?
I was wore out. You know, I was simply wore out. So we pulled into Missoula, and I didn't buy nothing from that Harley store. I was just kind of walking around. I was so tired. They had a kind of a lounge section, a couch, and I kicked my feet back, and I fell right asleep. And I didn't have no apparel. I didn't have a bag full of $100 stuff. And one of the Harley guys, one of the guys that worked there, he was like, "No, he's tired. Let him rest." You know, and so I thought that was like, at that point, I started seeing Harley stores as almost like, not even a rest stop, but like, you know, from a rider standpoint, like it's just, you know, they got you, you know, they got your back, no matter what it is, your bike, you, and I thought it was like, I'll never forget, I thought it was the coolest thing. He was like, "No, he's tired, let him rest. He's still got some miles to put on." So like, I kind of felt like an old school persona, like I stopped in at like a depot, and I needed to be taken care of, you know. It's like, I thought that was like, that's when I really embraced the Harley culture. I was like, I'll never own nothing else, for sure.
Well, I will tell you that 100% of them you wouldn't get that same response, but they are pretty consistent that you're going to get treated that way. You know,
Right.
it's the strangest thing, even for me, to get used to being involved with Harley Davidson and working at this dealership. The way that our relationship is with our customers is so different than anything I've ever been a part of. You know, they're your buddies or your friends, and that's how we treat them.
Yeah,
And sometimes we don't know them from Adam.
It was like family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you get your
Essentially
share of morning guys that come in just
Oh,
to
yeah.
hang and drink coffee.
Oh, we got. Yeah,
I mean, you have your little area that gets full. Your everydayers that come in there.
Yeah,
you know.
you've seen them. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got the coffee crew that there's 6 to 15 of them about every day that come and hang out and drink coffee and tell stories and yeah, we jab them a little bit with some zingers, and they get us too, you know. And they always say that their work is done when they feel like they're leaving dumber than they came.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So if somebody was to order, what's the deadline for the new releases come out to pre-order? Is it like in December, or when's your guys' that you can start pre-ordering for the 2023s if somebody would want to buy?
Well, yeah, and that's changed over a couple of years. You know, everybody used to be, the bikes always came out the very end of September. At one point, they're even coming out. I had a guy send to Sturgis, which is second week in August, on a brand new bike. But what happened then, it got kind of pushed back, and it was the very end of August. And they decided to change their release date 2 years ago. Maybe it was COVID related, maybe it wasn't, but that's when it happened. About 2 years ago, they decided we're not going to bring our new stuff out until January of each year. So the 23s this year, we won't even know anything about them until January of 23. And then what they do is the initial bikes that we're going to get, we don't order them, they pick what they want to give us. So like, especially any CVOs or these anniversary bikes that are coming out, you know, they're just going to decide, you know, which models we're going to get right up front, and they'll already be shipped. What's crazy about it is they'll ship immediately. We don't even know what we're getting.
But it's coming.
Yeah, well, we'll find out like the week of that they're showing up, which models we're going to get and which colors. Now, we are placing orders for the models that we know are not changing. Some of the staples like the Street Glides, Road Glides, and the specials of each of those. Some of those models that we know are going to continue on. We've already been through phases of orders for those bikes. But anything that's going to be a new model, a CVO, or a specialty color, we know nothing about.
So if somebody was to come in and just say, I want a brand new 2023, the red Road Glide, and you're like, oh yeah, like obviously like that didn't change, because they still, or say black one.
Well,
which
not necessarily
obviously,
though.
you know.
Sometimes the motors change and we don't know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So even if somebody wanted just a brand new black Road Glide, could you accept that order in January and say it'll be here in a month, or you just have to wait and see January? What?
We've already taken money on people that want the first 23 CVO trike, the first 23 anniversary street glide. We don't even know they're going to make an anniversary street glide.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to hedge and say that they're gonna, but we've had people that have already given us deposits because they want to make sure that they get one. Mm-hmm. So, but as far as you asked about ordering, once the season's opened up and they begin shipments, we've got a couple of different processes there, and it's kind of interesting and fascinating. Again, I commend Harley-Davidson on the way that they do this. It used to be that if you wanted to start off fresh and just order what you wanted, it was about a 2-week turn at the most to get that machine in the store.
Oh, wow.
Now with the changes that have happened with shipping and product shortages and all that, that's gotten stretched anywhere from 2 months to 8 months. But, typically there's another system where they have, it's called SAs. They're supplemental allocations. So if we're hitting our retail target number, what they will do is they will allow us to like special earmark certain models. It's called a wish list. You build them from 1 to 32 with your highest priority at the top, and they will try to match up what they have in their allocation pool to those and give them to you. So what we will do is we will try to put a build in there that matches one that we have money on. And we can also, now this is something they started this year, is we can do some special direct orders to it. Those things are pushed way to the front of the line. So there's kind of 4 ways to attack it now in our ordering. So it's quite complicated. And I used to do all the ordering for the bikes. DJ handles that now. He's amazing at it. Spencer also is involved in that too, but for the most part, DJ handles all that, and he's really good at it.
Yeah, so it's not like back when, we used to be, we used to have the Articat dealership, and it was, it's like somebody want to order a brand new M8, 153, and what color? Green. It's like, all right, you just go in there, and it's like, hey, you put the
Specs.
the build through, and it's already at their manufacturer in Thief River, where they just go out there and they grab it off the crate in their backyard and they put it on the next truck coming this way, and it's on its way. But it doesn't sound like it's that easy with Harley, that they're not just sitting around in crates just waiting to be shipped.
It's not, and in manufacturing, I can tell you that in all forms of manufacturing, they've been able to close those gaps down to build stuff to where they used to build stuff way in advance and build X amount of models of this and that, and then you just try to match it up later. Their manufacturing is more real time and accurate to where their suppliers are getting their, in a normal time, they're getting their, supplying them with the products to build the bikes at the time they're building them, and there's not a bunch of excess or waste.
True.
So efficiencies in that particular category with motorcycle and automotive has really become something to where their manufacturing is focused on it.
Wow. Yeah, very interesting. Well,
I got one more thing. So, when I bought my Road Glide, nothing against, and I guess I've said it before, I'm not really big on the stretched bag and big wheels. So it's like that ST line that Harley's come out with. How do you see that progressing with your marketplace in North Dakota?
Gosh, these are great questions too. So the ST model is sport touring, for everybody that doesn't know, and that all started because of this Bagger Racing League.
Yeah.
If you follow that,
Oh, yeah.
what's going on, where Harley and Indian, and there are other manufacturers in there too, but those are the big players. They have a road racing series where they're racing these baggers. Now, it's kind of like NASCAR. I mean, they're not really what you'd be riding to work every day, but they look like it visually. The idea of the shorter bags, as you know, maybe people listening don't, is so that you can lean the bike farther without dragging the bag.
Yep. You can kind of push the limits of the bike. You know, they become more performance oriented than leisure oriented.
Suspension's better, a little bit more travel.
Yep.
I think that's a fad right now. I don't know that that'll be there forever, but I mean, it's definitely a fad right now where people are into that look.
It's hot right now, yeah.
Yes, and I don't know if you saw that lowrider ST they came out with last year that's got the quarter fairing on it. Yeah. That thing is so cool.
It's a cool bike.
Like for people that don't really want the bagger look and they don't want the bagger weight, but they want some kind of protection in front of them, that bike is a bomb.
Bike.
And we sold so many of them this year. I mean, as fast as we could get them. I mean, one just showed up the other day that's been pre-sold for a month. So that's kind of a hot market right now. And I do think that that's kind of the next fad that we'll see, going away from the way extended bags, fenders, the huge front wheels. And I want to elaborate on that a little bit. It's funny, but I love how them bikes look when you do all that stuff to them. But I don't care what anybody says, they don't ride as well.
Exactly.
You've got a lot of very, very smart engineers that have designed and built this motorcycle to do just that, perform and handle. And then you start changing all the geometry by changing the neck angle, by putting the big massive front tires on it, lowering the back end. They don't handle near as well.
And it's like the platform for these bikes to be performers are there. Okay, so they got the high horsepower motors to carry that extra weight. They got the extra suspension to carry and handle that extra weight. So the platform for these bikes to go out and perform is already there. It's just you kind of just got to just fine tune it a little bit. So
yeah, it is a whole fascinating conversation because
it's like
I still like the look of that bike, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to continue to build bikes that look like that because they're passionate about the styling.
Yeah, but I just it's like when I first saw that first video of people sliding and wheeling these road glides, like that's what I'm in on. Like I think it's the coolest. So.
Yeah, you'd asked mentioned something about talking about the twin cam and the M8 motor.
Yeah, I guess. Well, actually, this leads me to other question. Since you've been a Rough Rider dealership owner, what's kind of been the biggest breakthrough in the industry that you've seen? Was it
boy. Well, I'm going to tell you the first one was in what they call the Project Rushmore era release, which was in 2014.
Yep.
I remember being at the dealer show and they brought that out on stage and started talking about all the highlights because these stages are like
platform,
these are massive stadiums we're in, and they got the giant big screens that we're able to kind of see things closely, and the camera people are going in and zooming in, but just all the things where that was completely a customer-led change. Everything that was done to that motorcycle was to make it better based on what the customers were telling Harley-Davidson for input.
They seem like they kind of allowed it to be evolutionary for 10 to 20 years. They came up with a platform for it to allow changes for 10 to 20 years down the road, whether it be motor or just essentially anything. It's just that's definitely a big change.
Yeah, and the next one's going to be, it's kind of a part 2 and a part 2B, but the M8 motor is even though it doesn't have the same glorious sound of a twin cam with a pipe on it, our favorite pipe on it. That motor produces more torque, it produces more horsepower, it has way less vibration. It's just a smoother setup all the way around. But if you look at the government's involvement with CAFE standards, it's corporate average fuel economy is what that stands for. They have a hand also in what motorcycle manufacturers are doing too, where they have to meet emission standards.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they're gonna, if we're gonna build bikes that people are gonna continue to want to upgrade to, they're gonna keep pushing the limit on motor size, and there's things that they're gonna do that way. So now, to get a great big V-twin motor to produce the kind of power they want it to, the water cooling is coming in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, water cooling's been around for a long, long, long time. But Harley's vision is they do not want to mess up that beautiful looking motor. That's the crown jewel of a Harley Davidson, is that motor, and clean. So what they've done with starting in 2014 is they came out with them twin cooled motors, where the bikes with lowers on them, the trikes and the limiteds is what it started out for.
coolers in there,
They
yeah.
had radiators in them.
Yeah.
Now the water jackets are just in the heads and the exhaust ports, so you're just cooling that top end of the motor, but that's where your
helps, yeah.
combustion events happening that's creating the most heat. So I think you'll see that evolve. You know, we've got this new line of bikes out that's that adventure bike and a whole new line of Sportsters that are completely water cooled. And that's a Revolution Max motor. That thing produces an incredible amount of horsepower, guys.
Yeah.
So once people start modding those things, oh boy.
So
I can
like
believe
150 horse will be pretty.
The Pan America stock is 150 horse.
Jesus.
The Pan America is a 150
See,
horsepower
that's what you
bike.
can wheelie with.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely can. I've done.
Yeah. Nice.
I got some pictures
Yeah.
of me jumping those things.
Jeez.
I was able to go to Mojave, California, where Harley Davidson used a company called Rawhide Adventures that put on these adventure bike training schools, and most Harley Davidson dealerships aren't like me. They didn't race motocross their whole life. So they sent these guys all to this training camp, basically, and then spent one whole day of training, and the second day we did, like, I think it was a 140-mile ride out in the Mojave Desert. And at the end of the first day, they cut us loose on this. The locals kind of had a little moto track that was built there, and I put it on the boys on the motocross track with that big adventure bike, and man, it was a lot of fun. But they took a bunch of photos of me jumping that Pan America, so it was pretty
Nice.
cool.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You know, when you guys talk about, and I'm sure if you could sit back and think of, you know, the evolution on just the fads with motorcycles, you know, it's of the different changes. But, you know, I do, since I've been doing this in the late 90s, you know, the biggest thing that what I got into was, you know, everybody had to have the drag bars. Like, that was the big thing that seemed like when all I'm going to say the V-twin market, so, you know, your Suzukis and Kawasaki's, Harleys and all that, back then was everybody wanted the drag bar. They wanted to be low and stretched out. And then from there it went to the you know, the 180 rear tire, then it was the 200 rear tire kits, and then it was the 250 rear tire kits, and then from that went to the custom bike world, and then from there, then the baggers came out with the, you know, big tires,
wheel.
stretch bags, and now it's like that's almost a norm. Well, now it's the shortened bags. It's the, you know, there's so many different fads that are going with these motorcycles, and you're right. You know, my Street Glide is big wheeled. It does have the big stretch bags on it, and I'll tell you what, it does.
Still a bad motherfucker though.
It is, and the thing is like I said, I've driven up from here to Arizona and back, and if you have it set upright, it does ride very well. It handles very well. Like, I love that bike, but it's a completely different bike now. And you got my 15 Road Glide that I kept that for the most part pretty stock. And I don't have the big stretch bags and stuff on it. And to be honest with you, that Road Glide is more fun to ride because I can go into corners faster. I can corner it more. It just seems like that you can do more with that bike than with the big stretch bags, even though they both handle good and they both ride very well. But they're almost like two completely different bikes, even though they're kind of not, if that makes sense.
No.
So it's like, you know, when I just want to cruise around and have that look, like, I love my Street Glide, but if I want to go out and get a little rowdy and have a little fun, I take the Road Glide because I can push it a little harder.
You know, I think a lot of them customization things that you brought up and like the kind of work you guys do at your shop, a lot of those fads, if you will, or styles that come out are led from people in your industry, and then they catch on. You know, you think of the impact that the television series Sons of Anarchy had on the Dyna alone.
Oh, yeah.
How many of them tall T drag bars did you start seeing on bikes, and those little small fairings and the sols around the headlights? You know, we started building replica bikes to that, and we sold the heck out of them, street bobs like that. So some of it's pushed by Hollywood, I guess, a little bit, but
and I think in that industry alone, it's just everything is going to evolve. You know, you're going to see the different trends, and there'll always be something different that somebody else is already thinking of. You know, there's the fat front tire kits, and it'll be constantly. You know, people are going to be definitely making stuff for these bikes, and you know, it's just going to constantly, that rock is just going to get flipped and flipped and flipped for something different, And you know, it's like Rob kind of got me on this too, and he started showing me some of these the performance bagger stuff where these guys are, you know, going down the highway and pulling wheelies and sliding around corners and all this, and it's like kind of got me a little interested in it too, because it's something different, it's fun, and I think that's huge in the motorcycle world.
It's all about fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Rather, you know, if it's on baggers or motocross, I mean, it's just that adrenaline, you know, it's all there. So yeah, hey Bill, I do appreciate you coming in, taking
back in twice.
Couple days,
Yeah.
and
awesome.
and having this podcast with us. If anybody is in the area and want to come down and check out the Rough Rider Harley Davidson, you guys are right on the strip.
It's a great store.
Monday through Saturday, and I think that's kind of because there's some Harleys that aren't open Monday.
We're going to now be the only dealership, Harley dealership in the state that's open on Monday. They're all going to be closed.
Yeah, so you guys, Monday through Saturday, stop in, check them out. You know, check out their bikes, their apparel. You know, if you need any work done, their service shop. You know, everybody's really great to work with there, and
Thanks.
Stop in and.
I appreciate you having me on. I think we could probably sit down and do this for about 10 hours because we all love talking about motorcycles, you know? If it's something you ever want me to sit down again, I'd love to do it.
I think there's
absolutely.
still a lot more we all have to say.
Yeah.
So,
And, you know, and the thing that's neat about we're all bike guys, so that makes it really easy too. You know, it's to just sit down and tell stories.
I think we honestly should do a spring one. You know, you can maybe.
Then maybe we can talk about what we don't know now about what 23 is coming out with.
23s exactly.
Getting
I think
ready
that'd be
for
good.
Sturgis and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll have to get together and maybe do some riding. And,
Definitely.
and see some stuff. But yeah, I just want to reach out again. You know, thanks Bill for coming in. And again, don't forget to check us out on our Facebook, our website, dakotacustoms.com. If there's any comments, please, you know, comment on with our podcast. If there's anything you guys want us to talk about, please leave notes in there. You know, we'll try to answer your questions and keep listening. And I appreciate it. And until next time, see you later.
See you
Thanks.
guys.